Hi everyone and welcome to a new video on Bite of Geek. Today I'm taking a look at the new Creative Webcam Sync V3. So let's check it out. This 2K 30fps camera from Creative packs a lot of features for £59.99. Boasting a 95-degree viewing angle for nice wide shots, 4x optical zoom via a touch control, dual microphones and also a privacy cover on the lens. In the box is your camera with a hardwired USB cable and some instruction leaflets which you'll not bother reading. The camera mount is super flexible. The head of the camera will rotate a full 360 degrees around. You've also got front and back tilting as well as side to side, so you've got plenty of options there to get the best possible angle for your needs. It comes with a typical kind of webcam mounting bracket to go on the back of a monitor with some nice rubber feet on this, so you're not going to scratch anything. And on the base you've got a tripod mounting hole as well. So overall a really nice unit, well thought out and put together. Setup is just a case of opening the clasp and mounting it onto your monitor and then closing the clasp back up, not forgetting to open up your privacy cover so that everybody can actually see you on your calls. And just to give you an idea of what this camera looks like in terms of size, I have got my Logitech C920 HD here, which I currently use, and there you go, that's what it looks like in comparison. So with the default install straight out of the box, this is what the footage looks like. I'm just running this in the Windows Camera app, and yeah, you know, really good quality, I would say. The color representation isn't quite 100%. There is definitely a bit of a yellow tinge to this, so I think you're going to have to install that Creative software in order to play around with things like brightness and contrast, saturation, all those different settings in order to just get the correct balance there. Yeah, color quality wise, I think, yeah, absolutely fantastic. The 2K is brilliant. The 95-degree angle obviously gives you a nice wide field of view for your shot. So, you know, make sure you tidy up rooms and stuff like that, or blur your backgrounds, or whatever you need to do with your backgrounds for Zoom calls or whatever Teams. But yeah, you know, in terms of movement, you know, I can't see any kind of, you know, it's 30 FPS, but there's no massive lagging in there. You know, there's no blurring really or anything like that. So a really good solid camera from that point of view. And just putting it into perspective, I've switched over to my Logitech C920 HD, and you know, as you can see, a lot smaller field of view on this, and obviously, you know, this is only 1080p, but the out of the box, the color representation is a little bit more accurate, I would say. You know, I don't have any Logitech software installed on my machine, and you know, I feel this gives a better representation of the real life colors. So in terms of audio, well, this is the audio now coming through from the Creative camera itself. You know, pretty decent for you know, kind of like your Teams meeting or something like that. I think if you're going to use you know, this camera with something like a Twitch stream or something like that, you probably want to have a proper external microphone in use on that. You know, have the camera and the microphone hooked up in OBS. But you know, for general kind of Zoom calls, team calls, whatever, you know, this is more than sufficient. So I've just gone and darkened the room now. It's not total darkness. You know, this is probably something representative of, you know, later in the day, early evening or something like that. But you can kind of just see reflection in the picture there, the amount of light that is actually getting into the room now. You know, there is a significant you know, less amount coming through. And what I would say is that the camera, so I haven't changed any settings on this camera at the moment, but the camera, the color representation does seem to have improved on the camera. So Clearly it handles slightly darker conditions better than lighter conditions without changing any settings in the software. So I kind of refer back to my previous comment. I think you are going to have to install that software and just play around with it to get the best possible representation that you actually want for your usage. So I've got the Creative Webcam software installed now. As you can see, you've got a number of options here: brightness, contrast, white balance, all that kind of stuff. I think in this scenario here, if I turn off white balance, you probably see that this has probably gone to something very, very similar to the footage that I showed from the Logitech camera. So probably one of the things that you want to play around with first to kind of like get rid of that yellow tinge to your footage. Obviously lots of other different things here. Exposure will probably put me into almost a very dark room, but these are things you're going to have to play around with to get the best settings for you. There's not much to the software, to be honest with you. You've got some recordings and driver update settings there. What you do have on the device page, you do have the smart comms kit. I'm not going to go into any great detail here, but effectively what this does is it allows you to install this part of the software, and if you are using the camera within a noisy environment, then it will try and filter out that background noise from your footage. Sometimes these things work great, sometimes they don't. My general experience is that they generally don't work as well as having some kind of microphone on a headset that would cancel out that kind of background noise. Usually you end up with a bit of a strange sounding voice when it's software controlled. Or maybe it kind of like clips off your voice a little bit too early, but something to play around with if that is something that you're going to need for where you're operating the camera. So what are my thoughts on Creative's new LiveCam Sync V3? Well, I think if you've already got the 1080p version, the V2 version, I probably wouldn't spend any more money and upgrade to this. Unless you specifically want the 2K version. Obviously, it is a camera from a big brand name, Creative, synonymous with things like sound cards and things like that. So to get this at the price this is available for, certainly when you take into account the kind of like the discount that's available on it at the moment, I think absolute bargain compared to what else is on the market. In terms of features, so I think the camera itself, lots of nice little things on there. The the tilt and swivel camera head itself, I think that's going to be great if you're planning on having this probably off monitor or something like that. You want it on a tripod, something like that. Really, really good from that point of view. You've got that little zoom in button on the top as well. If you want to, because it's got such a wide field of view, 95 degrees is quite good on cameras at this price range. Then you've got the option to be able to kind of like pare that back a little bit. Dual mics on it as well. Really good sound quality. I think my only issue with this, Creative says, on the packaging and everything, you can just install this without any need for any drivers or any software or anything like that. And that is true. If you've got a modern operating system, Windows 10, Windows 11, new version of Mac OS or something like that, then it just installs, it just works, and you don't need to set up an account, you don't need to install drivers or anything like that. I'm all for that. That's absolutely brilliant, and well done Creative for doing that. I think the only thing is, certainly from what I experienced, really you're going to have to install that software to be able to tweak with things like the brightness and contrast and things like that, unless the software that you're actually using has that functionality built in to be able to manipulate those parameters on the camera. So things like Teams and Zoom and things like that, you're not going to get the best quality image out of the box with this, I don't think. Certainly that was my experience anyway. So it's not the end of the world, but I think you just need to bear that in mind. I think if you were going to use it maybe as a secondary camera in your streaming or something like that, if you were on Twitch or something like that, absolutely spot on for the money from that point of view, and obviously it's 2K quality, so you know, you can't argue with that. But there you go, those are my thoughts on the camera. I think it's a really good camera for the price from a big brand name, and you know, if you're looking for something like this with the level of software compatibility out of the box, then I think, you know, it's a bit of a no-brainer really. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. You know, have you got the V2, the 1080p? You know, how's that been for you? You know, are you thinking of getting one of these? You've been holding out for a camera such as this? Then, you know, drop me some comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. But as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.